Hello, my name is Karen and I'm a librarian with Monaghan Libraries, and today we are going to read Robots Don't Cry, and this is written and illustrated by Bob Byrne. Chapter 1, Crybaby. Outside of Robot City stood a tall tin tree with a small metal treehouse bolted to the side. Inside the treehouse, 4 young robots were playing ring toss. We've got Rusty, Clang, Bimbo and Clunk. Bimbot, who was the youngest, had been waiting a long time for his turn. At last, Rusty handed Bimbot a ring. "Okay, Bimbot," he said, "you only get 1 throw." Bimbot took carefully aim. "I'll show them how good I am," he thought. He threw the ring with a mighty whoosh. The ring missed the hook and bounced off the floor, then off the roof, then the wall, and then it hit Bimbot on the head. Rusty burst out laughing. Clang and Clunk, who always copied Rusty, joined in. Bimbot felt so sad that a small tear dripped from his eye. "Leave me alone," he cried. Rusty stopped laughing. "What are you doing?" he roared at Bimbot. "Are you crying? Robots don't cry." "You big baby," said Clunk. "Go home to your mommy." Poor little Bimbot. He climbed down the ladder and walked away, hanging his head and staring at the ground as he went. He walked and he walked and he walked some more. "Why are they so mean to me?" he said. "I thought they were my friend. Oops." He tripped over a rock and fell. He looked around and said, "Where am I? This isn't my home." "Oh no, I've wandered into the dark woods." Chapter 2, Alone in the Woods. Ever since Bimbot was a baby robot, he had been warned not to go into the dark woods. "The woods are full of slimy black slugs and scary blue frogs," said the teacher bot. "There are goblins and gremlins and poisonous toadstools," declared his dad. "There's quicksand and stinkberries and giant sticky clingers," said his mum. Bimbot turned to run home, but a creature blocked his path. It was covered in dark fur with a white stripe running from its nose to its tail. Do you know what it is? Of course, it's a badger. Or is it? "It's a skunk!" yelled Bimbot, and he covered his nose. The skunk looked up at him sadly. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I don't smell." "Oh," said Bimbot, "that's good." "Not if you're a skunk," said the skunk. "None of the other skunks will play with me because I don't smell like them." "Oh," said Bimbot. He knew how that felt. "Maybe we could find a smell for you." He thought for a moment. "I've got it," he said. "There's always smelly stuff at the bottom of a well." "And I know where there's a well," said the skunk excitedly. When they reached the well, Bimbot stretched his arm right down and scooped up a handful of slimy, sticky muck. "Yuck," said Bimbot. "Oh, yum," said the skunk. He rolled around in the muck until he was covered in slime. "How do I smell now?" he asked. "Oh, like smelly socks, rotten cheese and sour milk," said Bimbot. "Perfect," said Skunk. "Now I smell like a real skunk. Oh, thank you so much, little robot. If you ever need my help, just follow the smell." Well, Bimbot thought, he wasn't scary at all. And so he walked a little bit further into the dark woods. Bimbot felt a lot braver and happier after helping the skunk. He'd forgotten all about the mean robots back in the treehouse. Chapter 3, Buzz Off. Suddenly Bimbot heard a noise. He stopped and listened. Buzz, buzz. "Where is that noise coming from?" he said. "Buzz, buzz, buzz." A small fuzzy bee sat on a white daisy, sobbing and sniffing loudly. "Why are you crying?" Bimbot asked. "You've got lovely wings. You can fly." Why aren't you happy? What colour am I? Asked the little bee. Yellow, of course, said Bimbot. Yes, said the bee, just yellow. Where are my stripes? All the other bees have stripes. No one will play with me because I don't have stripes. She gave such a big sniff that a daisy leaf went right up her nose. Achoo! Bimbot had an idea. He picked up a ripe blackberry and squeezed it. Then he lifted up the little bee. Turn around, he instructed. And as the bee turned, Bimbot painted 3 broad stripes on her back and tummy. Oh, they're lovely, said the bee. She flapped her wings very hard to dry her new stripes. Then she flew round and round, buzzing with delight. The bee disappeared into a bush, and when she came out, she was carrying a big jar of honey. This is for you, little robot, she said. You're very kind. Now I must buzz off. Bimbot whistled a happy song as he skipped and hopped further into the dark woods. After a while, he sat down for a rest beside a clear stream. He watched frogs playing leapfrogs and butterflies fluttering by. Where are all the scary creatures everyone told me about, he wondered. All of a sudden, a great big noise came from the woods. Rah! Rah! It was so loud that the trees trembled and grass shivered. A monster, got Bimbot. Chapter 4. What's that? Bimbot hid behind the rock. His metal knees were knocking together. All his nuts and bolts rattled with fear, and tears filled his eyes. Then he thought of how Rusty, Clunk and Clang had laughed at him. Robots don't cry, he said loudly, ever. And just to show how brave he was, instead of running away from the terrible noise, he decided to follow it. I'll prove I'm not a baby. And he hopped across the streams. He ran across the log bridges, he climbed hills, and he swung from the trees. The noise grew louder and louder. It was a bear. A big brown bear was sitting under a tree, growling and holding his head in his hands. Hello, Mr. Bear, Bimbot said nervously. What's wrong? Promise not to laugh, said the bear. I promise, Bimbot put his hand over his little tin heart. You see that yummy honey hanging from the tree? Asked the bear. Well, I love honey, and I'm so hungry. But I can't climb the tree because I'm scared of heights. There's no need to be hungry, Mr. Bear, said Bimbot. Have my honey. And he handed over the jar of honey that the bee had given him. All from me, said the bear. And he was delighted. Thank you, little robot. He put a paw deep in his fur and rummaged around. Here, he handed Bimbot a card. If you need me, just call. And off he went. Chapter 5. A really good idea. The sun was going down and the woods were getting cold. Bimbot decided it was time to go home. But he didn't want to go home. Horrid Rusty and Clunk and Clang would only laugh at him again. They'd never believe that he had been in the dark woods on his own. He sat on a tree stump and thought about the friends he had made today. Ping! He had an idea. He made a phone call and whispered the details of his plan. This was going to be fun. Back in the treehouse outside Robot City, Rusty, Clunk and Clang were still playing. They were just finishing their jigsaw puzzle when... Who could that be? Said Clang. Oh, I bet it's that crybaby Bimbot, said Clunk. Don't let him in, said Rusty. But the knocking got louder and louder. Open the door and tell him to go away, ordered Rusty. Clang pulled open the door, expecting to see a sad Bimbot. But there stood a skunk. It was a really smelly skunk, and he wiggled his bum at Clang. Yuck, yelled Rusty. That smell! It's like stink berries and rotten eggs. Oh, I'm going to be sick. Open the window, quick. Clank ran to the window and threw it wide open. But instead of fresh air, a swarm of angry bees flew in. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The trapdoor, Rusty shouted. It's our only escape. The 3 robots pushed and shoved through the trapdoor and fell in a heap at the foot of the tree. The bees still buzzed around their heads. Clang began to cry. Don't be such a baby, Rusty said crossly. Robots don't cry. I'm not crying, he sniffed. There's just something in my eye. They didn't notice a long, dark shadow creeping towards them. Then Rusty looked up. It's a bear, he screamed. The bear had long, pointy fangs, huge paws, and razor-sharp claws. Rusty, Clunk, and Clang were so terrified that they couldn't move. I'm scared, Clunk sobbed. Me too, howled Rusty. I want my mommy, Clang bawled. Chapter 6. Robots do cry. Suddenly there was silence. The robots opened their eyes, and there stood Bimbot. Well, said Bimbot. What do we have here? Looks like robots do cry after all. But Bimbot, cried Rusty. Look out, there's a big scary bear, and a swarm of angry bees, blub Clunk, and a skunk with a smell that would fry your circuits, yelped Clang. You mean my new friends? Bimbot laughed. Rusty, Clunk, and Clang were astonished. They wiped their eyes and tried to look brave. It's okay to cry, Bimbot said. Everyone cries sometimes, when you're sad, or when you're hurt, or when you're frightened. It's okay to cry, even if you are a robot. You're right, Bimbot, Rusty said. We're sorry we were so horrible to you. Will you come back to the treehouse? He asked. Go on, little robot, said the bear. We'll be off now. Our job is done. Promise you'll come back and visit us sometime, said Skunk. I promise, said Bimbot, waving goodbye. Back in the treehouse, all 4 robots played happily together until it was time to go home. The end. And that was Robots Don't Cry, written by Bob Byrne. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.